This is a Sports Radio Live podcast covering your world of sports. Bryan Houston's Sports Radio Live. It's weekdays at 3 on 99.3 Talk FM, the talk of East Texas. Bryan Houston's Sports Radio Live.
And pass. Gill has Curry, followed by Johnson.
There was an old lady who lived in a shoe. A fresh little crib.
On 99.3 Talk FM, here's Bryan Houston.
Grandmama Larry Johnson, former Dallas native, and I guess he is a Dallas native, and one of the great UNLV running Rebels, and also a Charlotte Hornet at the time. 43 years old today. Larry Johnson was a beast. Played for that great running Rebels team that won the national championship for Tarkanian back, 90 or so, and then were upset in his senior year by Duke. I think it was his senior year. I'm not sure if he went all the way or not, but he was a huge power forward, and he could slam it down, and he made a really good old lady, too, by the way, just so you'll know. This is Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live, 99.3 Talk FM, and right now we're going to talk about pro football and guys who are trying to make it to the next level. So on the APEC VIP hotline, cutting-edge training for the serious athlete, APECGo.com. Joining us right now on the line is the former Canton, former Gilmer, former University of Tulsa quarterback, G.J. Kinne. How you doing, G.J.?
I'm great, Bryan. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you very much. Now, you had your pro day at the University of Tulsa on Monday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me about that.
It was a very positive experience. We had 17 teams represented, and, we were able to, me and my teammates were able to showcase our ability to those guys. We went through different drills, height, weight, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different tests, and I came out, looking good, and then I was very excited, about the opportunity, and it was a positive one.
Okay, and obviously this is your shot because you weren't invited to the combine, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did you feel any added pressure because of that?
Well, I knew, this was going to be my only shot. I didn't have the luxury of going to the combine and then, maybe just be on the throw at my pro day like some of the other guys do. So, it was a very busy day for me. From 10:30 to about 2 o'clock, I didn't stop. And, but I think that shows the competitive quarterback that I am. And, everything they asked me to do, I did to the best of my ability.
Did you have to kind of speed date all these different teams that were there? Did you get a chance to meet with all their different officials?
I got to meet with most of them. Obviously all of them weren't interested, but a couple of them were, and I got to, meet with those teams. And, I threw and, like I said, did all kinds of different drills and running and short shuttles and L drills and Wonderlic testing and, everything imaginable we did.
Of the teams that were there, who did you spend the most time with? Who seemed to be the most interested?
I talked to a lot of the teams, the Panthers, the Jets, the Seahawks were probably the ones that, I talked to the most just at my pro day, but, that doesn't really mean anything. I've talked to a bunch of guys that, say that they've been drafted or got picked up by a team that they didn't even talk to. So, I didn't put too much stock into that. I just went out there and performed to the best of my ability, and hopefully, one of those teams there will, fall in love with me.
Not asking to check your knowledge on who was there or not, but of the teams that weren't there, who stood out that maybe you were disappointed didn't show up?
Man, there was so many teams there, and I didn't get even a chance to, check out who wasn't there. I know that my agent is going to send DVDs. He has a list of the teams that were there and wasn't there, and he's going to send DVDs of my workout and results to all 32 teams. So I'm not quite sure who wasn't there and who was there, but just the teams that I met with, like I said.
Okay, so when they gather you guys all out there on the field, I guess it all starts out on the field, right?
We actually started in the weight room.
Okay.
That's where we did our height and our weight and our, hand and all kinds of stuff, wingspan. So we actually started in there, and then we went to the field after that.
Okay, so you start out stripped down to your Fruit of the Looms then.
Exactly. I'm probably
That's
not my
great.
Fruit of the Looms, but my spandex.
So there's no better way to start off making a good first impression with a new boss than by getting down to your underwear there. That's great.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the unique things about this thing. It's kind of like a meat market. Just you're there. You can't hide anything. You're standing there, like you said, in your Fruit of the Looms, just standing there, and they're looking you up and down.
Do they kind of poke and prod you like cattle? Spin you around and check your gums and stuff.
They do everything. They grab on you, do your height, weight, everything imaginable. They do.
Oh man. Okay. All right. And then you talked about the Wonderlic. Tell me about taking that test. I mean, we've heard so much about guys that have done really well on it and so much about guys who have just completely bombed it. And we've seen successes on both sides of it. What was that test like?
I had taken some practice tests, and, I felt, very confident that I did well. It's one of those things. I was talking to, I trained with Chad Pennington, and he was telling me that, he's one of the, he didn't tell me this, but I know that he's one of the most knowledgeable football quarterbacks maybe of all time. And I looked his score up just so I could see, and he got a 25, which is a very respectable score, but it's out of 50 questions, and the highest score is a 50. So basically he got 50% right. And, I think sometimes it's a little overrated. And, but, I think I did, very well. I don't know the score yet, but, it was definitely something that I wanted to do well on, and I think I did.
How did you get hooked up with Chad Pennington?
It was my agent. It was just one of those things where my agent was close with a training facility out in Florida, and that's their quarterback coach. Him and Scott Bruner used to play for the New York Giants. Those are the two guys that coached me up, and I was able to go out to New Jersey for a couple weeks as well. So I spent time in Boca Raton and New Jersey. Okay,
and so tell me a little bit about some of the things that you learned from Chad Pennington's situation and his experience.
Yeah, it was one of those things. His big thing was footwork. He said it all starts down low, and he wasn't too concerned with throwing motions or anything like that. His big thing was just footwork and getting up on the board, and so if you don't know what you're doing, you can at least act like you know what you're doing. And that was one of those things where he's, like I said, he's one of the most knowledgeable NFL quarterbacks of all time, in my opinion. And be able to learn from a guy like that was awesome.
Oh, no question. I mean, the guy's, and that's one of the things he's known for, is how smart he is as a quarterback.
Exactly. Exactly.
Outstanding. All right. So one of the concerns was about your arm strength. I know people coming, automatically people want to know, is his arm strong enough? Do you have the gun? Did you prove to everybody's satisfaction that you can make all the throws?
Yes, I definitely think that. My agent used to actually be a scout for the Green Bay Packers, and so he has connections with various teams, and they came up to him afterwards and said he really put to rest all the questions about his arm strength. And at the end, just because I'm a very competitive guy. I mean, if people around East Texas know that I run the ball, throw the ball, anything I can do, punt, play defense. I wanted to show that I did have the arm strength. So at the end, I just took a 5-step drop and launched it as far as I could. And I think it went around the 80-yard mark. So, it was one of those things where I wanted to put that to rest. And I called Coach Traylor at Gilmer and told him that. And like he said, he told all the teams that had called him, because, they do call your high school coach, for all those high school kids out there that think that, they'll never have to deal with their high school coach again. Teams will call your high school coach, and, he told them that's one of the craziest things I ever heard. He's thrown the best deep ball I've ever seen. So
it's amazing how they can get their minds made up, though, about what you can and can't do when they really haven't watched you that much.
Yeah, that is true. It's just part of the process, and people are always going to doubt you, and it's just one of those things where as a quarterback you go out there and try to prove people wrong every day.
Okay, so after going through this, what do you think you needed to do better? What do you think you did well enough that you should make a good impression with these guys?
I think I definitely went out there and I ran well. I tested very well, and I threw the ball really well. I think there's obviously always things you can improve upon, but for a pro day, just a one-day thing, I think I did everything in my power to improve my draft stock for sure.
Very good. Well, so now what happens?
Right now it's just kind of a sit and wait thing. I'm going to be continuing to work out, throw, and I know teams will call my agent and set up some visits, hopefully. Each team is allowed to bring in 30 guys to come almost like an official visit, like in college, but they're also allowed to work you out on your campus. So hopefully I'll get some of those various visits and, get the ball rolling from there.
Outstanding. And then all you have to worry about is just sitting around the TV for 3 days watching the draft, right?
Yes, exactly. I probably won't watch the first day, but the next 2 days I'll be watching.
And let me ask you this too: knowing that the first day is out of the mix, where do you realistically think you might go in the draft if you were doing the picking right now?
I have really no clue. I think honestly, if a team picked me in the 5th, 6th round, I think they'd be getting a steal, and that's what my agent's preaching. And after the way I ran and threw the ball yesterday, I really don't know where I'm going to go. But Lord willing, hopefully someone will be able to pick me up either in the draft or free agent. I just want a shot. I'm not really too concerned where I go. I just want a shot at the next level because I really believe I can do it.
Outstanding. Well, we think you can do it too, GJ, and we do appreciate you coming on with us, and we wish you the best of luck in the coming days as you get ready to see where you might end up getting your shot, okay?
All right. Thank you very much for having me, Brian.
Great to have you on. GJ Kinne, the former Tulsa University record-setting quarterback there, and also a terrific high school quarterback at Canton and at Gilmer. And so we're great to have him on today. So thanks very much to GJ Kinne for coming on with us. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll continue. Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM.
At Advance Auto Parts, we don't do anything just part way. We go full throttle. With a growing selection of...
This is a Sports Radio Live podcast covering your world of sports. Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live. It's weekdays at 3 on 99.3 Talk FM, the talk of East Texas.